Hi. My name is Edgar Wong. I was just doing some reading on the proposed amendment to the Companies Act, so I thought I might as well do a quick recording of my understanding and views of the proposed changes. Now, thus what is said here in this video is strictly based on my understanding and interpretation of the document. Now, the review done by the Companies Act Working Group is to ensure Singapore corporate laws and regulatory frameworks stay competitive and relevant. So this is not the first time ACRA has done it. So ACRA has been amending, improving on the Companies Act over the years. So the latest effort started in January 2018, right? So ACRA has invited the public to provide feedback on the proposed amendment between July and August last year. So CAWG, chaired by then ACRA board member Professor Tan Chen Han, senior counsel, and comprising members from both local and international law firms, industry regulators and association, had deliberated on the proposed amendment with inputs and feedback from various stakeholders. Now, CAWG have done a lot of work. They have reviewed 56 issues and recommended 36 legislative reform covering the following areas: facilitating digitalization, redefining some of the types of companies, as well as obligation for financial reporting. Now, they have also made some proposal on matters relating to directors and company secretaries with the intention to safeguard shareholders' interests, propose new share capital and financial assistance, and updating some outdated provisions. So my interpretation of why CAWG have come up with some of the proposal, or why ACRA is making this additional effort to propose and amend the Companies Act, are as follow. The Companies Act should keep pace with continually evolving business environment, and in particular stay relevant in light of the development in the use of technology by companies. I mean, couple of years ago, our Companies Act still refers to the financial statements as balance sheet and profit and loss. All right, so the terminology, the referencing have changed. So therefore, the Companies Act should also be amended to reflect that change. But at this moment, the change is in the form of technology. But a lot of the systems and procedures that has been defined in the Companies Act still reflect the era of little or no technology. So given the new environment that we are operating in, the proposals that have been presented for acceptance reflect or trying to embed technology into its procedures. The Companies Act should strike a balance also between an effective and efficient regulatory framework and the compliance burden on companies. Now, particularly on compliance burden, and this has been done even in the last amendment of the Companies Act, where we see the government reducing the burdens in the form of cost and time of maintaining a company. So these two motivations will be reflected in many of the proposal of this recent effort. Now, use of digital media and technology, dematerialization of physical share certificates would help to reduce the cost and time involved to issue, to keep and to replace any lost certificate. Coincidentally, a client mentioned about his company share certificate should be lodged with CDP, the Central Depository, just like all the other listed company, to facilitate transfer of shares. Now with this proposal, we are moving closer to removing another batch of papers from the administration of companies. To me, this is very eco-friendly indeed. Now, the proposal also attempts to facilitate digital meetings. I would like to focus on the keyword meetings. The meetings here refers to both general meetings, such as annual general meetings, as well as EGM, extraordinary general meetings, as well as board meetings, so board of directors meeting. So let's talk about general meetings first. Currently, the Companies Act provides for general meetings to be held, but does not directly address how the meeting should be held. In particular, some Companies Act provision actually lean towards the holding of general meetings in physical venue and with the attendees attending physically. The CAWG recommends introducing a provision to enable and clarify that unless the law, the Constitution, said otherwise, a company may have the discretion to hold the general meetings digitally and as well as in more than one location. Now for board meetings, the Companies Act does not regulate the conduct of such meetings. However, to avoid doubts over whether board meetings can be held digitally or not, the CAWG also recommended introducing a provision to clarify that unless specifically prohibited by the Companies Act, board meetings may be held digitally. Now, I'm just wondering, may I sidetrack? On the tax front, what would be the implication of this proposed change on the residency status of a company? Now, the CAWG also proposed a change in the definition of the small company. Now, on your left, it is the current definition of a small company. A small company is a private company which meets any two of the three requirements for the past 2 years. A. Total revenue not exceeding 10 million. Total asset not exceeding 10 million. And number of employees not more than 50. Now, if you look at the new definition of a small company with a new terminology of small, non-publicly accountable company, it has become a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Besides changing the terminology, they have also removed the requirement C, which is the number of employees not more than 50. It has also been removed. Other than that, the proposal also states that they want both the requirements to be met instead of 2 out of 3 under the existing legislation. So allow me to read the statement to conclude this section. A small, non-publicly accountable company is a company which is not publicly accountable and meets both of the following requirements for the immediate past 2 financial year. So you must meet both requirements of revenue and total asset not exceeding $10 million each. Now, what will be that the implication of the change in definition. Now we will look at the requirement for audit. Under the current Companies Act, the law states that all companies must have their financial statement audited except for dormant company and small company. Now, given the change in the definition of small company under the new proposal, all companies must have their financial statement audited except for dormant company and small non-publicly accountable companies. Now, the CAWG also proposed the introduction of a new company type in the form of micro company. Now, what is a micro company? A micro company is a company which fulfills the requirements of total revenue and total asset each being not more than 500,000 for the previous 2 consecutive financial year. So this is a new definition, this is a new classification of a company. Now, so what is the implication of having that new definition or new company type? Under the existing Companies Act, all companies must prepare full sets of financial statements except for dormant companies. Under the proposed change, all companies must prepare full set of financial statement except for, if you are a dormant relevant company, you do not need to you do not need to prepare the financial statement at all. But if you are a micro non-publicly accountable companies, you may be required to prepare a reduced or simplified version of the financial statement. Now, CAWG also proposed that the existing solvent exempt private company, which is solvent EPC in short, right, the criteria of which should be prescribed in the regulation. Currently, we define solvent EPC as a company with less than 20 shareholders with no incorporation being a shareholders, as well as maintaining its solvent status. So currently, dormant relevant companies and solvent EPC are exempted from filing of financial statement. Thus, with possible new definition of solvent EPC being legislated, it could impact the group of companies which actually qualify for filing exemption of the financial statement. Now, CAWG also proposed to allow sole director to act as the company secretary. CAWG recommending removing the Companies Act prohibition against the sole director currently being the company secretary. Now, what are the possible justifications for this recommendation? Firstly, of course, for cost reason. CAWG observed that there might be some sole directors company that are forced to hire a corporate service provider to act as its corporate secretary. Solely for this reason and such, costs may be significant, especially for the smaller businesses. Now, the second possible justification is that CAWG took the view that a sole director nowadays could competently act as a corporate secretary, and that removing the prohibition would not necessarily jeopardize the proper maintenance of the statutory register and record. This is because company secretaries nowadays have very few obligations under the Companies Act. The recent law reform have led to more information being kept by ACRA rather than the companies themselves. So information in the form of register of members for private companies, as well as register of directors, CEOs, secretaries, and auditors for all the other companies. So therefore, given the reduction in the obligation and responsibilities of company secretary, perhaps there might be opportunity for even the sole director to act as the corporate secretary as well, to take on this dual responsibility. So what will happen next? ACRA will review the feedback received. Then ACRA will publish the outcome of the consultation in due course. Now, we should expect the proposed amendment to be adopted one way, or to be adopted or rejected by 2022. So for stakeholders who are affected by the changes or by the proposed changes, we do have a bit of time now to plan for the change or for the changes. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening. Should you have any questions, any comments, please let me know. I will appreciate that very much. Thank you.